All right, let's talk about databases. Databases are exactly what you think of them as. These are services that store data. We can read and write data to these databases. On Inhouse Cloud, this we don't have a CMS system like you would see in tools like Webflow and Bubble. What we have here is basically the ability to bring in data from any data source, and the main data source or the two main data sources are databases and other services, which you would interface with using APIs. But today we're going to be talking about databases. All right. So to see your current databases, all you would need to do is go to the database hub. As you can see, we can navigate to this from our menu. So we can add a new database by just clicking on the Add Database button. At this time, we do integrate natively with about seven different databases: MongoDB, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, Oracle SQL, Redis, and AWS S3. And if you notice, we also have multiple environments. So this is for uh, a not so obvious reason. Our applications have three environments: development, test, and production. Same thing with APIs, and the same thing with automations, right? So it makes sense that when you are working in a development environment, you want to use a development database if you are indeed interfacing with a database. The same applies to test and production. This is good for security. This is good for access control. If you have a developer working on your application, that developer is working in a development environment. So if they mistakenly write a query that deletes data, that is just development data. And in many cases, it's good for compliance because a bunch of people are going to be building applications that require compliance. All right, so today we're going to be working with a MongoDB database. You can work with any database you want, but we're going to be working with a MongoDB database, and we are going to be consuming. Let me just pull this into the screen. Here we have this demo Twitter posts collection, or you can call it a table. We're just going to be consuming this in an application, and and if we have time, we probably will consume this in an API as well. All right. Now to connect to a database, all you need to do is put in the database credentials. All data transactions are end-to-end encrypted. All right. So let's plug in the credential. I'm going to use a connection string. I'm going to plug this in. This here is a temporary database user. These credentials will be deleted at the end of this call, at the end of this video. All right. So let's test it. And we see here that this connection is actually working properly. For example, if I were to uh, change the password and make it and invalidate it, and I retest, I get an error message saying that authentication failed because of bad auth. All right, this is pretty much how easy it is to know for sure, for certain, that your API, but that your database is properly connected. And then all you just need to do is add this database. All right, so I already have a database, this database with a different user configured. So I'm going to exit out of this. It's indeed the same database as this, the test Mongo. Uh, like I said, that was a temporary database user that I will delete after this video. All right, so let me go to my application. I'm going to go to an existing application, the walkthrough application. It's basically just a throwaway application that I use to demo uh, features. All right, so I see this icon here. That's because I actually do have this open up in a different tab. So I'm in multiplayer mode. I'm just going to go ahead and close this tab out. All right, so what we want to do here is that we want to extract our demo, our Twitter posts, and then we want to display that in our app data. All right, so if you want to know what app data is, watch the video about app data. All right, so let's do this very quickly. We're going to go over here. We're going to go to the function builder. We're gonna uh, start a function. We're gonna call this get posts, and we're just gonna give it a comment. This is a temporary function to get Twitter posts from our Mongo database. I will be deleting this function after this uh, video recording as well. I'm going to add one step to this function. I'm just going to call this step logic, one workflow, and within this workflow, I will add my steps. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look for our database, our MongoDB uh, database operation function. As you can see, we have the Mongo operation, we have the MySQL, we have the Redis, the Postgres, the Oracle SQL. So all these are here, and you can connect, and they look really close to the real, what, you know. Let me just show you what I mean by this. It looks pretty close to what you would expect. You would type in something like select. Oh, well, I gotta put in a variable name. All right, let's call it something random. You could say something like select all from product, right? And you would run your SQL. We're gonna be using a MongoDB database here. We're gonna be connecting to our test Mongo. We're gonna give this a variable of DB response. We are going to be querying our demo Twitter posts collection. We're going to be running the find query. We're not going to do any filtering or any logic here, any filter or query. We're just going to get everything. And that's all for this step. And then the next step, we want to set this to our app data. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look for a function called updates client app data. And we are going to set this to a field called Twitter posts. Then we're going to set it to this variable DB response. So if I start typing DB response, I will get the option. I can just select it. And there you have it. And I will save this function. I will go over here. I will deploy this function. So now that this function is deployed, it's available for consumption in its current version, which is version 2, which is the deployed version. I'm going to go over here to my lifecycle functions. I'm going to go to the on app load event. I'm going to add a function. I'm going to say, I'm going to get, I'm going to type in the name of that function, get posts. This gets Twitter posts. That's it. And there you have it. We've added this function to our application. It will trigger whenever the app loads. So what I'm just waiting for here is I'm waiting for the application to save and the version to change. Then I'm going to refresh the page. And this is running right now. And if we look in here, we have the Twitter posts. All right, so now that we have our posts, let's consume this. Let's bind it to some elements. I am going to quickly drag in a list. Just going to look for that in the visualization section. I'm just going to quickly restyle this, make it 40%, or let's just go with like 50% with this time. Center that really quickly. Give it some space up top. All right, so this list, I am going to bind it to Twitter posts, the app data field. All right, Twitter posts. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we are going to also remove this fixed height. That way we can stretch it out a little bit. And over here, we're gonna increase the height of this to 100 pixels. And what I'm gonna do is that I am going to start dragging into the list items. I'm gonna drag in a paragraph, right? Let's just drag in a paragraph. Okay. Um, let's give this list item some padding. Let's give some padding really quickly. 10, 10, 10, 10. Let's remove the height. Okay. And we're gonna drag in a div, put it underneath our paragraph. And what we're going to do here is we are going to make this a flex element. We are going to center items, and we're going to justify all the way to the end. And then we are going to drag in a text block. Put it in here. We're going to change the styling of this. We're going to make it inline, and we are going to remove the width. Okay. And we are going to change this to a dynamic text because right now it's static. So I'm going to say I want to use dynamic text. All right. And now I'm going to map it to the list item data first name. Let's spell this correctly. First name. All right. And we want to get the last name here as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to press Control and left to duplicate it to the left. And here we're going to change this to last name. Right, and then we're just going to add some margin to the left. And there you have it. I have my, actually, I never binded the paragraph. Let's do that really quickly. Let's bind this to some dynamic text. And we are going to bind this to list item data. And we're going to bind this to the post. All right. So there you have it. We've basically connected a database. We've used that database in a function. We've gotten that data into our app, and we've displayed that. This video has gone a little too long, so we will not be demoing this with an API in this video, but watch out for more database videos. All right, thank you.